Are you frustrated with online dating? Confused by all the new apps and fancy dating sites? Do you find yourself choosing the wrong person again and again? Well, studies show that hiring a dating coach can maximize your online dating experience. So no worries, I've got you. And I've created a virtual course called Doing Dating Right. It's a 5-video series that you can complete at your own pace in your own space, right at home. How to write your online dating bio, pick that perfect picture, and so much more. Want more info? Go to my website at jenniferhurwitz.com. Again, it's jenniferhurwitz.com. Good morning. Good morning. This is Doing Relationships Right. I'm Jennifer Hurwitz, and I'm your host every Tuesday and every Friday. Well, every other Friday for a Just Jen episode. If you're watching right now, then you can see who I have in the house with me today. And if you're listening, then you know, well, you don't know, I'm about to tell you. I have Joe Sanok here today. I'm going to take a deep breath, Joe. I'm a little bit starstruck. I have to be honest. You're a big shot here. I think you're one of my biggest guests I've ever had. Can I be
Thanks
honest
for having me.
that?
I was starstruck the other day when I was at Poppycock's restaurant here in Traverse City, and Dax Shepard walked past me, and I got to meet him, and all I said was, "I love Armchair Expert," and then I just like froze. So we all have our people.
Exactly right. Seriously, I would have passed out. And we were
Oh
talking
my
about that
gosh.
before yesterday. I
Yeah.
honestly would have passed out. Didn't you say you touched his arm? He touched your
He
arm,
touched
something?
my shoulder. Yeah, I didn't even get a picture with him. I was like, oh, I want to give him space, but then I'm like, ah. So
It's Dax
we,
Shepard, for God's sake. Was he
it's
with his
Dax
wife?
Shepard. No, Kristen wasn't there. He was visiting a friend
Oh,
that lives in Traverse City.
I love
So
Traverse
yeah.
City. You're a Michigan guy. I love it. We're already hitting it off. It's amazing. So, Joe, you have so much going on, and I've been stalking you. First of all, your book, Thursday is the New Friday. I want to hear all about that. That's your fifth book or sixth book?
It's my fifth book. I think it's my fifth, but the other ones were
Yeah.
self-published, more for specific audiences. Whereas this
Okay.
is, I would say, my first real book that I really spent
Real
tons
book.
of time researching. It's published from HarperCollins and did a
Very nice.
massive marketing push with it. So the other ones were aimed more at smaller audiences, but
Okay.
helpful still.
Still, they're amazing. Yeah, I read, listened to one of your podcasts about the process you took to write your book. I would love to talk about that too. I have so many questions, but I'm excited. And also, so you've done a TEDx, you've written 5 books, you're a keynote speaker, your podcast, The Practice of the Practice, right? The practice behind the
Yeah,
practice of the practice. Am I right?
practice of the
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
Practice of the practice. And you've had guests on there that I'm like, I can't even believe.
Yeah,
Glennon Doyle.
I'm the same person. Like like oh my gosh, I Glenn and on where I was at a music festival with her, and I'm like, hey, let's do a podcast. It was before she really
Shut
blew
up.
up, and we hung out all like week at this music festival.
Come on.
So yeah, and
That's
then
awesome.
she really blew up after that because she had Momastery at the time, but hadn't written
Yeah.
any like major books, and so yeah, it's
Yeah.
been, I think that's the thing about a podcast. You have a reason to reach out to these people that you're just fanning over.
Yeah.
Like I remember
Totally.
I was watching this Netflix series that was about how Atari died, and it was this like video game called ET that like kind of killed Atari. And they're interviewing the guy that designed this video game, and then at the end he's like, "So I just gave up the IT world and I became a therapist." And I was like, "What? You need to be on my show." So I reached out to this guy, I found him, and then had him on the show, the guy that killed Atari and how he then became a therapist. It's like,
Isn't that
why would I have
amazing?
a reason to reach out to some random guy in California that killed Atari? But
And he
it
said
just
yes, which
opens
is
doors.
cool.
He said, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Most people say yes to me too. It's nice. It's like, it's cool. I love it. I love it. This is my favorite part of my job. But it's hard. So you're first of all, your Thursdays and your Friday. Tell me about that. Let's go there first. Because
Yeah. So
I'm interested to know, like, I haven't read the book yet. It's sitting here. I have not read it. But let's talk about it. How did it start? What is the idea? I'm interested. Let's go. Let's do it. Tell me
yeah,
everything.
so when I think about how I used to work, it was, full-time job, hustling in the evenings with my private practice, trying to squeeze in a podcast to record while my daughter was napping. Like it was really stressful. And I tend to be an achiever type. I'm an Enneagram 3 and, like to go after big things. But when I really started to discover that as I slowed down and as I cut things out, I started to work on the right things more and more. And so that was something I started teaching clients, and started slow down school in the summer and killing it camp in the fall, and these kind of 2 different types of conferences that we do aimed at therapists, and saw that there was really a model that I was teaching that I hadn't really figured out. And so I was working with my writing coach. We spent a year just putting together the proposal, and she just would get me talking. She'd say a client comes to you and talks to you about this. Say, one of your consulting clients wants to do this. How do you do this? And really trying to figure out what was Joe's process and what was stuff that I had borrowed from other people. Because you don't want to just write a book of other people's stuff, but
Right,
really,
right.
what is it that emerged? And so the original pitch to HarperCollins was around a 4-day work week, but then really once I started to dig into writing the book, I think that's where things that weren't even in that proposal started to emerge. And so to be somewhat of a history buff where I enjoy just weird history, weird science, weird, like the weird fascinates me because sometimes we have this narrative of here's what the box is. And the reality is that's not true at all. And so when
Right.
I entered in, I thought, well, like, where did we even get the 40-hour work week? Where did we get the 7-day week? Where did all this even come from? And so, if we go back several thousand years ago, the Babylonians gave us the 7-day week. There's nothing in nature that points to 7 days. The moon cycle
Interesting.
loosely connects to
Never
our
thought about
months,
that.
our days, that's us, spinning in space. Same with a year, but a 7-day week is completely arbitrary. And that's because the Babylonians looked up and they saw the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Earth. And so they said, okay, there's 7 major things here. We're going to have 7 days. The Romans had a 10-day week. The Egyptians had an 8-day week. So the 7-day week was completely arbitrary. Even in the 1800s, the Russians tried a 5-day week. So we could have a 5-day week and have 73 of those in a year, and nothing would really change. And so if we just
Right.
start with this thing, the 7-day week is completely arbitrary. It's because the Babylonians had bad telescopes. So then, where did we get the 40-hour work week? So in 1926, Henry Ford pushed back against kind of the way people were working in the late 1800s and early 1900s, which was 10 to 14 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. It was a farmer's
Right.
schedule, but even if you weren't a farmer, people were working all the time. And so in 1926, Henry Ford wanted to sell more cars to his own employees, so he gave them weekends because then he's like, well, if they have a weekend, they're going to want to go someplace and they want to go there faster and
Oh,
see
interesting.
things quicker. And it worked. And so then certain policies started coming in. So if you really think about it, like the World War II generation was the first generation to fully experience the 40-hour work week. And their parents probably said to them, "You're so lazy working 40 hours. That's crazy." And the baby boomers are the first kids to be raised by 40 hours. And then the millennials and Gen Xers are only the second generation. And so
Hmm.
sometimes there's things that we feel are so solid. But we really see that in the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of that way of the industrialist starts to fade away, where the industrialists had taught us, here's how you do it, it's a specific way, you plug it in, it's an assembly line. But really we don't think that way anymore. We know that the world is diverse, we know that we need to experiment and try and shift and adjust. Those are all things that we do, but the industrialist era really ended with the pandemic, where everything we thought that was undoable just blew up. We could
Right.
never have all of our counseling be online, like that's not the same as an in-person. Well, we saw that a lot of
Didn't.
that shifted
Yeah.
pretty quick when people needed it.
Yeah.
Contactless restaurants where you just scan a QR code and pay it, and they
Unbelievable.
just bring you your food. Things fast forwarded in a much different way. So then, if we just understand that basic history, then we can move into learning about how when our brains genuinely slow down, that's when we create our best work and we can absolutely kill it.
I mean, this is like unbelievable to me because I feel like I am always moving. I'm always going. I never slow down. I never, and you're right. So this last weekend, I was thinking about you because I decided that I was going to shut everything down on Sunday. I was going to go off my technology. I was going to go off Instagram. I was going to go off my phone and I was just going to be by myself and alone and just chill out and take a break. And I couldn't do it. Why? Why couldn't I do it? What is wrong with us that we cannot? I mean, am I addicted to work? Am I addicted to Canva? Do I have to make more graphics? Do I have to? What is the problem? Why can we not? Like you're right. Like there's nothing. Who says that we have to work 60 hours a week or 40 hours a week? Like my husband, my ex-husband, to talk about relationships. I call him my husband. He worked 60 hours a week. Like he didn't have to. That was his choice, but then he says that he had to keep up. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I don't.
Yeah, I
Why?
think
Why do we
there's
do that?
so many different factors that play in. One is this kind of hustle narrative that, especially as an entrepreneur, if you look online, so many people say, "Oh, I haven't had a Saturday off since I was 13." Great. Okay, Gary Vee brings us a lot of things, but that just hustle all the time kind of thing, it's not healthy. We don't do our best work. That just shows me you're
No.
bad at calendars. And so to if we really look into it, we have often overvalued work and undervalued fun. We don't see the monetary benefit of having time away, especially if
Right.
we're an achiever type. We hear about the Elon Musks that slept under their desk to help launch PayPal, and Steve Jobs, who was working 90 hours a week. They become these icons of business, but then the average person really isn't that obsessive naturally,
No.
and actually
Right.
can't go at that pace. And so when we look at when do we actually have our best ideas, it's usually when we're in the shower or out for a hike,
That's
or maybe
me.
you're on a drive. Right.
Yes, I'm in
And
the
so
shower. That's where you're so right. Yeah.
exactly. And so it's because our brains can start to talk to different parts of our brain. Our default mode network is able to transcend itself, is able to not be in as much fear and stress. And when we allow that to happen, we figure out what really is the best use of our time. Because a lot of times,
Oh
if
my
you
God.
look at your schedule, it's doing unnecessary email, it's doing all these tasks that we've set up without ever saying, well, do I even need to do these tasks? And do I need to be the one that's doing these tasks? It could be you've set up all of these tasks and systems that really are sort of useless and aren't really getting you to your bottom line. If you want to grow your audience or you want to grow your income, maybe you need to do those things, maybe you don't. And so to really take a step back and say, would I rebuild this company in the way that I've built it? Or would I maybe start with what's the schedule that for me seems healthiest? As I'm a single dad. So for me and my daughters, raising them on my own, what do I need? Well, I need to be able to walk them to school every single morning. So I know that their school starts right before 9. And so we walk down to school, I walk back. I know I don't want to start things that very second that I get back. I want to have a cup of coffee and I want to meditate and I want to practice Spanish and do these things so my brain feels grounded as I enter in my day.
Right.
So I'm not going to start something before 9:30 in the morning. I know I want to
And
walk
you
down and I want to
legitimately
pick them
don't
up.
start. So you really don't start
Correct.
anything. You don't even pick up your foot. You don't even look at your Instagram. You don't even.
No, no, I'm with my
Oh my
kids.
God,
I'm
I
making
can't
them
even imagine.
breakfast. I'm
Can't even imagine.
I
Okay.
don't want to go into a meditation, a Sam Harris meditation. I like the Waking Up app.
Yeah.
Thinking about, oh, I just saw this thing on Instagram that pissed me off. Like I
Oh,
protect
that's
my
me. That's
brain.
me. Joe, that's
Yeah, so I
me.
protect my brain. So
Okay.
when we're wanting to do better work, we have to say, what am I allowing into my brain? So on Thursdays, when I was writing Thursday is the New Friday, I wrote it
Mhm.
between April 2020 and September 1st, 2020. So a very short period of time. But those days, I was implementing the neuroscience around how do you kill it when you're actually going to work.
Yeah,
And so
I
those
saw. I
days, I
listened to
would
that
protect
podcast.
my brain. I would make sure that I, had my coffee ready, had my green tea
Yep.
ready. I had that rhythm. I changed the lighting in my office. I
Yeah,
changed the music I
yeah, I heard
listened
that.
to,
Yeah.
all those things to make my brain jump into flow state. And so oftentimes our default is, we check our phones, we see if we have text, we go on Instagram, and then all this stuff comes in that's unnecessary and unhelpful for the work that we're doing. And so being more and more intentional around it. So yeah, I start at 9:30. I know that for sure I want to walk down and pick up my kids every afternoon. I don't want to have to drive down, even though it's 2 blocks away. I want
Yeah.
to walk down. I want to see the neighbors. I want to have a conversation with them and not be on a consulting call. And so then I want to be done when I pick up my kids. And so I'm done at
Nice.
3:30. And so I also know that I want to have Mondays and Fridays that are off. And so I have hard boundaries around what I'm going to do on those days. And so to be able to say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sure, I'll run full tilt from 9:30 to 3:30, but by setting very clear boundaries around what and when I'm going to do things, it then forces me to drop the ball and say, well, should I be doing these things? Or should I maybe have part of my team take care of these things? Do I need to hire someone new that has a different skill set? Then I'm continuing to just do the best work and then allowing my brain to calm down and relax when I'm away from that work.
Absolutely. So, I think I maybe heard on a podcast of yours, or I was reading something about flow state, and you just said it. Can you explain to my listeners what exactly flow state is? I mean, I listened, so I know, but can you give us a little
Yeah. I mean,
background
I
on
would
that?
say
Because I'm
the
interested.
best book on flow state and bringing things together would be Stealing Fire. It's just such an
Ye-
amazing book. So I would say if you want to really deep dive, I mean, you can get it as an audiobook through Hoopla for free. And so the basic idea is allowing ourselves to combat against vigilance decrement. So vigilance, how well we pay attention to something, decrement meaning breaking down over time. It's when we lose a sense of time. It's when we are so into our work and in the flow that things are just clicking along. And it's when the brain is able to transcend that default mode network and think differently. And there's lots of things that the brain can do through different altered states. And so it can be changing the environment that you're working in. It can be having micro breaks within your sprints and knowing your sprint type. There's all sorts of other research around how do you get into flow state. So being able to figure out for yourself, How does that look? When does that most likely occur? For me, I know that I really can't start kicking it until my coffee kicks in. So by 10 o'clock, I'm ready to go. So my
Me too.
9:30 meetings, I strategically schedule things that aren't a heavy load for me. And so I did a phone call with one of my consultants right before this. So I'm drinking my coffee. I'm talking to her about a conference she's putting on. How can I support her? It's not a strong mental load for me. Whereas
Sure.
I want to be able to show up for a podcast and be ready to talk about my book, talk about these different things. That means that I need to know when I'm at my best and schedule things around that.
Anyone who's been through a divorce knows co parenting is not all rainbows and sunshine, especially when alcohol abuse is involved. Pair these challenges with a pandemic, and you have a perfect storm. Soberlink's alcohol monitoring system is the most convenient, reliable, and reasonable way for a parent to provide evidence that they are not drinking during parenting time. Soberlink's real-time alerts make it easy to negotiate with any party. Judges rest assured that the child is safe. Attorneys get court-admissible evidence of sobriety. And both parents have empowerment and peace of mind. Do divorce right and trust the experts in remote alcohol monitoring technology to keep your kids safe, happy, and well-adjusted. To download the guide, 5 non-negotiables for embracing a new normal that I developed with Soberlink, visit www.soberlink.com/DRR. Right. Okay. So, for example, I can't, like, when I get up in the morning, I'm like, I immediately look at, like, I know what I'm doing wrong. I know that I'm like jumping. I almost feel like if I don't return a text or I don't return an email, I feel guilty. Like, I feel like I have to do it, even if it's in my boundary. So, like, I know that I like to be off my phone by X amount of time, right? But then I get that email. So is it me not setting the boundary, or is it me allowing the person? Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, you're
I have serious
perpetuating the
boundary issues.
problem. Yeah, I mean, you're
Right.
perpetuating the problem because you are teaching the people in your life, whether they're clients or consulting clients or family, that you are a person that responds immediately. So
Right.
then when you don't, it makes you look bad because your image has been crafted around that.
Right.
I get to inbox zero every single week. So I know that by Thursday afternoon, I will be at inbox zero. So I make sure that's a priority, that every week
Okay.
I'm all caught up. But I have an assistant that's in there and she's responding to 90% of the emails. She's starring the ones that only I can respond to. And then
Okay.
by the end of the week, we get to inbox zero almost every single week. With
That's
texts,
amazing.
the only people that really text me are either high-end consulting clients, and they know that Monday through Thursday they can text me, and that Friday and the weekend, that if they text, I'm not going to reply until Monday morning. And so I've in the onboarding with them said, yeah, you get my personal cell phone number. If you're stuck, I want to know. And I wrote the book on taking Fridays off, so I'm not going to reply on a Friday. And so,
Exactly. Maybe
so
I should
it's
write a book about taking Fridays off.
yeah. So I would
Yeah.
just say, start with, what's one micro boundary that you could add to your schedule. So what's something positive you've wanted to do? It could be reading a book for fun. It could be, doing one lesson of Duolingo for a language you want to learn. It could be taking a certain exercise class. Like, just finding one little thing that you can put into your schedule that's as non-negotiable as the other things in your work schedule. And then what's
Right.
one thing you can remove from your schedule that you think might give you a little bit of oomph? So it could be, I want to stop doing as much email. Okay, well, that means you probably need to find a director of details that can go through your email and that you train. And that onboarding is going to take some time. Maybe
Yeah.
2 months till you're done doing email in the level that you're doing it now. But over time, then it allows you to move towards that freedom, to doing the better work and the stronger work that only you can do for your business.
I mean, it's all just so. I'm listening to, and I'm like, I need someone like you, because I think that, I mean, I feel like I think that I know what I'm doing, and then I'm listening to you and I'm reading your stuff, and I'm going, why does this seem so? It seems so, like, obvious that so manageable, and but then it's just not for me. And I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people we struggle with this, like with time management, and we think that we have great time management and we have great time management skills. And then we meet someone like you, or we listen to your podcast, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not even close. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I feel guilty. And then I'm like, what am I doing?
Well,
But
let me
I
pause
have a
right there.
private,
You feel
yeah, please.
guilty instead
I do.
of saying, I want that life. I want to, for me, it would make
Yeah,
me
I
feel better.
do.
In the same way, like when we think about food, So I have 2 daughters. One of the
Yep.
primary things I want them to know is that, like, they own their body. And so that
Yes.
plays out in a
I
lot of
love that.
ways. If I
Yes.
go to say, "Hey, can I give you a hug goodnight?" and my 7-year-old often says, "No, I don't want a
Says
hug."
no.
I have to
Yep.
respect that because I'm trying to teach
Absolutely.
them to own their body. But with food, same sort of thing. Listen to your body. Now, you're not gonna get to eat goldfish all day long every day. Like, we're gonna I know a few things, and
Although,
I know that your body needs some fruits and vegetables, but we're gonna
sure.
have some autonomy that maybe the average kid doesn't get. Now, do I want them to make decisions about their body out of a sense of shame or guilt or should? No. I want them to be able to say,
Mm-mm.
okay, that cake pop made me feel like junk, and I don't want to feel like junk. So I'm going to eat half a cake pop next time, or I'm going to take a nibble of it, or I'm not going to drink juice before bed because then I wake up with a tummy ache. Same sort
Yep.
of thing. Your schedule you're describing isn't working for you. Your schedule is stressing you out, or you're feeling
So
like
stressed.
right. And so to say, I don't want that stress, and I want to do big things in the world, and I want to make more money. How do I do that? Well, let me look at my schedule and then reverse engineer what I think would be a healthier schedule. And then what are some small steps I can take into that schedule? So it
That's
may
the thing I
be
need. Right.
for a while, and maybe it is we're going to have a hard boundary that you do zero work from 4 p.m. on Friday until 9 a.m. on Monday. You don't get to go, you maybe even you delete Instagram from your phone every weekend and then reinstall it and sign back in. I mean, it may have to be that extreme for you for a while
Yeah, you're right. It
where
might. It seriously might.
yeah, yeah, or you have a folder that you bury those things in where it's like,
Hmm.
maybe you label it. Are you sure you want to go down this path? And then you go into that folder. Are you sure? Like, I mean, there's lots of things you can
You're
do
right, Joe. You're
to
right. You're
slow
right.
down, because we'll
Yeah.
do what we see, and we won't do what we don't see. So sometimes just removing Instagram every weekend from your phone or hiding it,
My
I
sons
mean,
do
that
that.
that can save you.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my 18-year-old and my 19-year-old, they're both, older, but they do that. My son Jonah, he goes to Syracuse and he deletes his social media when he has to study, when he's at school.
Yeah,
He just done. He's like, I can't do it. I can't sit. Twitter drives it. He loves it. He's on it. He's like, I can't do it. Cannot be in his space. And it's funny, as a coach, I'm a relationship coach and a dating coach. I can coach all day long, best coach ever. But to coach myself and I know what I'm doing, I know what I need to do, and it's so much more difficult for me to coach myself, because I
yeah.
know.
Well, and I think
Uh,
even saying, well, what are those things I absolutely love that if I could do more of that, my life would be better. I mean, say you wanted to do more coaching, and you didn't want to do all these other things. Okay, you're making X number of dollars per coaching session. Well, what if you had someone that was a third of that cost that was going through your email? That means every hour you work doing something you love, you're paying for 3 hours of something you hate. Awesome. Like, that's a great
Yeah.
trade-off.
Right,
And so
right, of
even just
course.
even just starting to buy back some of your time in different ways. I remember when the first snow of the 2021 2022 winter happened, and it was a big snow. It was unexpected. I had started the snowblower early to make sure it would work, and I'm doing it and I'm just like, I freaking hate this. I'm like, I would
Well,
much
just
rather
move
be
to
hanging out with
Charlotte,
my
Joe. Just move
daughters.
to Charlotte.
I know, seriously.
We don't know what snow is here. What's a snowblower? Tell me. We're in Charlotte.
Oh
We
my
don't go
gosh.
quick. I'm just kidding. I'm
And
from Detroit.
I'm
I
like
know.
I'm like, for $30 I can have this guy come and
Yeah.
just move the snow off the driveway, and I never have to worry about this all winter. I like for the and for some people, they may like the exercise, they may like the sense of
Yeah. Yeah.
blowing the snow. That's not me. And so to just say for $30, I'm gonna when it is a snow that's more than 2 inches, he's gonna come and he's gonna just plow it. Like those little things to refine
Agree.
over and over and say,
Agree.
I'm not going to put extra stress on my life and have my kids in 5 sports and a bunch of musical instruments. I want them to be able to play. I want them to be able to have that improv life that they often have as just little kids. That means that they're going to be in volleyball and they're only going to be in volleyball. And then when that's over, we're going to say, how do you feel? Do you want to jump into something else? Or do you want to just paint at home for a little bit? Do you want to learn an instrument together? So just intentionally stepping into where do we want to spend our time, to me, is such an important thing in the relationships we have and the work that we do in the world.
I agree. I totally agree. I think as a single mom myself, yeah, I get nervous that if I let something go, if I let it pass by me, or an opportunity that I'm missing out on, that it's a missed opportunity. Does that make sense? Like,
Hmm.
I think it's like that scarcity. What is that? Like, I'm scared that I'm going to miss something, and it's going to
Yeah.
lead something that would lead to something bigger.
Hmm.
And it's horrifying. It's a yucky place to be, because I would like to be able to say no to things. Like, and my problem is that, this is about me, but my problem is that I say yes, and then I wish I would have said no.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, early on in my career, someone said to me, when you say no to one thing, you say yes to a whole bunch of other things. And to me, that's been so helpful to just have as being a mantra of how can I aggressively say no to most things and really know what am I working on right now? So for
Mhm.
2.5 years, it was getting a HarperCollins level book deal. It was writing a HarperCollins level book. It was then, how do I position myself to potentially be a New York Times bestselling author? Okay, you do over 200 media appearances in the lead up to the book. You hire a PR company that can get you into Harvard Business Review and can get you into Inc. and into Money, all those things. Like you spend the time and energy there, and that was the lane where any moment of free time, I knew if I'm going to be working, if I had a no show or cancellation, it was all through that lens of I'm launching a book. So I'm not going
Yep.
to go on YouTube. I'm not going to go, spend it doing
Mm.
things that don't directly serve that book. And to just know, here's the things I'm working on right now around the book. It's writing an article for this corporation. It's doing these public speaking. And sure, I could go on Instagram and maybe there's a case that could have helped the book, but not nearly as much as working on a Harvard Business Review article.
Right.
And so to be able to have that level of clarity of where am I headed here, what do I actually want to do in the world, and how do I make sure I set up my environment when I'm working to do that, but then how do I aggressively slow down and let my brain recuperate so that I can jump back into that work and realize there's a whole lot more than just working.
I think you're right. I think a lot of us have that problem where we're just so we need more of a tunnel vision of what we actually want, what our end game is, instead of like being all over the place and instead of focusing on the one thing that we really, that we really want. I think that's a common mistake we make. Me being that
Yeah.
person.
I mean,
I
we've
feel
all
like
been
I
there.
want it all. I want it all. Like I'm like I don't want. But you're right. You're right. And when I was writing my first book, I was like that. I wrote it so quickly. So quickly. It was like it just came out of me. Like I don't know. It was like birthing a baby, right? It just shot right out. And then my second book was like more intentional. It took time, right? And so I'm writing my third book. I'm thinking when you're talking, I'm just like all these ideas are spinning. But yeah, you're right. You have to be more intentional. And you have to give yourself time to chill. You have to, because your body can't handle it all. In your
Yeah,
mind,
I
you're
mean, your
just
body's gonna make
it's
you chill in
exhausting.
one way or another. I mean,
Mine
it
did.
could
Yeah,
be,
mine did.
yeah, it could be that you're just like, I need to have a nap. I don't want to take a nap, and I'm just lethargic,
Mm-mm.
and then I drink coffee, and then I feel like crap. And I mean, your
Yep,
body will make you do it. It's whether or not you're gonna be the one that chooses that, or your body's gonna react to it.
absolutely. Well, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you have a busy day today because it's your day of working because it's not Thursday, right?
That is true.
I'm thinking
I'm
it's
killing it
not Friday.
today.
No, you're working. You're killing it today. Today's a killing it day.
Yep,
So
today's a
where can
killing it day.
this is a killing it day. Okay, so where can everybody find you? First of all, you have so much on your LinkedIn, your link tree, or whatever. What's it called? Link tree, your link. Everyone can get everything they ever need. That's how I feel. You just go to your link tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's amazing.
you can follow me on Instagram, Practice of the Practice. Also, you can find Thursday is the new Friday wherever you get your books. So I imagine your local bookstore would like to have you go through them. And you can also contact me through practiceofthepractice.com. We have all sorts of resources for counselors, coaches, psychologists on starting, growing, scaling, and exiting your private practice and launching podcasts, all sorts of things there. So Practice of the
I got a
Practice is the
lot.
main hub for everything.
It's amazing. Oh my God, Joe, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, this has been
I appreciate
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Did we miss anything? Can you give us
I
one
don't
big
think so.
tidbit before we go? You got anything for us? A
One big
little
tip. I mean, I
nugget
would
of
say
knowledge?
the big the big nugget I would say is, if we look back at 2019, right before the pandemic, would we say that was the pinnacle of human existence, where we were more stressed out, maxed out, sleep deprived, anxious than almost any time in history? I would actually argue that we have massive challenges coming on our generation in the next 10 to 20 years. That's future pandemics, global warming, racial equality, police brutality. I mean, there are so many things that are coming our way or are here right now. And do we want to be the most stressed out and maxed out? Or do we want to be more productive and creative? And I would actually argue that the next step of business evolution is that 4-day work week. And we're seeing it across Europe, across innovative companies really start to take off, and to have the evidence showing that people do better and more creative work with that 4-day work week. So I actually feel like it's a call to humanity to move away from the 40-hour work week and into the 4-day work week as our next step of evolution.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this for free. I'm about to move into the 4-day work week. Everybody, just so you know, I am telling you right now, I'm making this right. Everyone give this. I'm telling you right now, I am done on Fridays. I've just decided Fridays are no longer a work day for me. Fridays are off limits, everyone. So clients who are listening, listeners who are listening, Just Jen episodes that go up on Fridays, fabulous. You'll see the Just Jen, but I will not be posting them. And I'm done on Fridays. Friday is my day off, everybody. Thursday is the new, no. Friday is my new, yes, right. Thursday is now the new Friday. Thursday's the new Friday, Joe. That's it.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, everybody. If you'd like to join us, Thursday's the new Friday, go get the book and join me and Joe. And Thursday's the new Friday, everybody. Hooray. There, I'm finishing the podcast that way. Have a great weekend, everybody, and make your weekend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? There we
Love
go.
it.
Peace, love, and so much truth, Joe. Thank you for being here, you guys. We'll see you next week on Doing Relationships Right. Bye.